Cyrus was once a contender for best civ in the game all the way up through Gathering Storm, but with nerfs and power creep, Persia just no longer stands up to the rest of the pack. Today we're going to go over Cyrus's Persia, its abilities, and how I tend to play them. I'll give a rating for each victory type, as well as an overall rating at the end. Before we get started, I would like to take a moment to thank everyone for watching this series. If you like it, please consider giving me a like and a subscription. I'm getting a lot of positive feedback on this series, and I'm slowly working my way up to 1,000 subscribers, and I'm getting there thanks to all the help from the people who are supporting me, which I appreciate more than you can believe. Cyrus isn't super bad by any stretch of the word. You get lots of bonuses that work together in different little ways. You like gold or culture, or do you like a nice unique unit? Well, then Persia's got all of those things. It's just that the level of bonus you get from each of these things isn't nearly high enough to truly make them a top tier anymore when you've got other civs just getting overall more useful things. Let's look at their civ ability, Satrapies. You get a +1 trade route upon reaching political philosophy, and your domestic trade routes get +2 gold and +1 culture, as well as your roads are better than everyone else. If we look at what this provides, essentially you get 1 free trade route that you have to build, and you get 2 gold and 1 culture if you're spamming commercial hubs and harbors. And what does this actually give you? Not very much. Many civs in the game at this point do trade routes a lot better. You're not really an economy civ. Tokugawa, Portugal, Mali, all of these civs are going to do a trade route game better than you are. But, you know, hey, at least you're not Poland with their pitiful trade route bonus. I mean, don't get me wrong, a free trade route capacity early is nice, and culture is always flexible and good, but it will train, it will train you to make domestic trade routes, in which in my opinion are generally fairly strong, and at many points of the game are stronger than international trade routes if you're doing them correctly, but it just doesn't stack up anymore at all. Even your other Persian counterpart leader, Nadir Shah, even though he's bugged, it does trade routes better, and I don't think he's going to get patched anytime soon, so, you know, yeah, just don't play Cyrus. Next we have the Immortal. The Immortal used to be possibly the best or second best unique unit in the game. It is a swordsman that requires iron, but instead of just a regular swordsman, you get a ranged attack, which is pretty sick. The ranged attack does get a penalty for attacking districts, but how often do you attack encampments? Almost never. This penalty doesn't matter, and it's not going to come up super often. If you get iron, these guys are mad. You will never need to build archers early in the game, and you would just focus on building and upgrading warriors into immortals. You can have some of those warriors be frontline units, and then other warriors be backline units. When they're immortals, you switch them, you upgrade them, you have the front line, and then you have the ranged attackers, and when the front line get beat down, you switch them out with the back line to have ranged attackers. That's enough to take out a city most of the time, and this is pretty good. You take out a city, rinse and repeat, move on to the next city. That is until man-at-arms were introduced in the game, and the AI get men-at-arms super fast. If you have Gaul or Babylon right next to you, this is a useless unit that is not going to help you at all, except for defending against barbarians, which the cheaper archers could do anyway. And also, you're really dependent upon iron. If you spawn next to someone like Eleanor and you have iron, then GG, easy clap, you've taken the whole civ out, it's done. It just really depends on the timing. I find them to be good, but less good than something like the Varro, which has no resource requirement. Remember how good the Legion was before they had the iron resource requirement? This is how good the Immortal was before men-at-arms were put in the game. Finally, we have Persia's Pairidaeza. And this is possibly the most nerfed unique thing in the game, maybe second to Scythia's horse economy. The Pairidaeza is unlocked at early Empire, which is fairly early in the game, and it gives you +2 gold and +1 culture on a tile, which is pretty good, as well as +1 appeal to your tile. So if you put it on like a floodplain before you need farms, it's not a bad tile. You get +1 gold per commercial hub or city center adjacent to the Pairidaeza, and +1 culture per holy site or theater square adjacent to the Pairidaeza. However, they can't be built next to one another. These things used to give +2 appeal to tiles, which was broken. It was actually broken. It made Earth Goddess, which gave you faith per breathtaking tile. It used to be +2 faith, now I think it's +1 faith per breathtaking tile. Absolutely busted. And when they put preserves in the game with Vietnam, I think, it did get nerfed. And I see the point of that. If you were able to get +2 appeal wherever you wanted, that would make national parks and preserves too broken. But right now, it takes too much setup to get a useful tile out of it. You need to put down the Pairidaeza, and you need to have adjacent districts to make it worth working that tile later in the game. And it only provides like a national park's worth of appeal. Somewhere that wood's being planted would have provided it anyway. So I mean, it's not bad. You get gold and culture, and that helps you, and it saves you the worker builder charge, building like a culture and gold tile instead of building a woods tile, which would just give you a little bit of food and some production. But it's not the amazing thing that it used to be. You have to set up your city layouts pretty early, and you have to design them pretty well to get good national parks. And I do believe the culture is converted to tourism with flight. It's been a while, so it does give you a pretty good culture game. I also can't ignore how good they are for seaside resorts and for neighborhood housing bonuses. That's kind of a forgotten benefit of the Pairidaeza. Persia is an early domination civ that has to transition into culture later. With Cyrus's ability, the Fall of Babylon, you get 2 movement for all units after declaring a surprise war, and you can do this fairly well early on. It's not an amazing movement bonus, you're essentially Columbia for only 10 turns at a time, but it can be a good bonus, especially paired with siege units, because siege units with the extra movement are able to move and fire at the same time. Don't underestimate the bonus towards settling and builders as well. Declare a surprise war on a civ that's far away, fill in your city locations before a neighbor can get there, and combine that with monumentality and you get zoomy builders everywhere. You also get a bonus towards loyalty in cities with a garrisoned unit, which is not amazing, but can help in those early low population wars where you're usually struggling for loyalty. When I play as Cyrus, I always feel conflicted. I want to use my immortals, so I want to build warriors, but I also need to build trade routes and builders for my iron mines and Pairidaezas and settlers to settle on the iron and national park locations. So it's difficult, but I think it's best to focus on the immortals. You build a few warriors, hunt some neighboring barb camps to get bronze working boosted, and protect yourself from the waves of barbs that are coming for you, and hope you can get iron before men-at-arms come into play. You should be able to take 1 to 3 cities fairly reliable from a non-aggressive neighbor with only like 4 immortals. Afterwards, you go all in on that eco game. You build theater squares and commercial hubs, forget about campuses unless you get a really sick campus location, because you're going to make up that science later with preserves. Get your trade routes going to boost your population in cities that can get preserves, and then use the extra gold you get to buy groves. You're going to be internally trading for the vast majority of the game, since most people will hate you for your surprise wars, but don't be afraid to declare a war just to get builder movement in the mid game. It's not really going to hurt you, and you can peace out 10 turns later when the effect wears off. Try to target someone the AI is already at war with, and they're more likely to peace out at the time that you want them to peace out. Stack up your Pairidaezas to form a diamond pattern in between 2 cities, and you'll get a pretty good national park. Late game, you're going to transition into a culture improvement and national park based tourism game. So move your trade routes to international ones, try to make some friends, and use your preserve faith to buy back rock bands. For a domination victory, which it seems like Cyrus was designed to play with, I'm only going to give him a 7 out of 10. I don't think he's good enough at it. The extra movement is good, but it allows your siege units to do some work, but it's not the most amazing thing, and your unique unit goes obsolete too fast, like every other swordsman unit after the New Frontier Pass. For culture, my preferred Cyrus victory, I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10. Pairidaezas are going to get you there. You'll get pretty good tile yields moving through the culture tree early. Everything about Persia outside of Cyrus seems to be built to move through the civic tree pretty quickly. Your national parks and wonders that you can steal through early game wars are going to generate tourism for you. And you get a gold bonus to allow you to buy great works a little bit easier. So this is the best victory for Cyrus. Science is a 4 out of 10. You can do it. Warmonger civs are good at science because they get so many cities, but you're not a great warmonger and you get no bonus towards growth or science or production. So it's just solely based on the fact that he wars slightly better. Religion is also surprisingly a little good. You get the movement bonus on your religious units, but it's still not the best for Cyrus. You get no bonuses towards making a profit or getting faith. 5 out of 10. Diplo is conflicting. You get gold, which is very needed for Diplo games. However, production is way more important for Diplo in order to get those wonders out. You also get culture, which allows you to get to the Diplo wonders a little earlier. You are also incentivized to declare surprise wars, meaning that you'll have grievances, even if your surprise wars give you fewer grievances than other civs get. Grievances lower your Diplo point generation, so only a 4 out of 10. Persia under Cyrus is possibly my least favorite civ to play as in the entire game. All of his bonuses, in my opinion, are too little to really skew a game in a particularly flavorful direction. It just feels boring. And whenever I roll Cyrus, I always restart for someone else. He can do a decent culture game, but so can every other civ in the game, really. So for me, he gets a C rating. Thank you everyone for watching, and if you're enjoying this series, please let me know in the comment section. Leave your thoughts on Cyrus down below. Next episode, we'll be covering Dido and Phoenicia. This has been STG Sheep. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.